Peace, light, and love to you, and welcome to the Brave Heart Healing Channel. I am the lovely Kiana Nicole. If you are new to the channel, definitely go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It definitely helps me out a great deal. I wanted to come forth here to share my personal testimony and how I got delivered from celebrating Easter, a pagan fallen holiday, which people around the world today are partaking in, being highly misled by what it stands for, what it represents, and what it really means. And I really want to bring this home here for individuals who may be confused about Easter, individuals who may have questions about Easter and what it represents. So I was called out of the cult of Christianity over 15 years ago. And in me being called out of the cult of Christianity, the Most High, the source of power of the universe, revealed to me a lot of troubling things that were not being taught in the churches that I was attending at the time. And that, as I started to grow in my walk with Source of Power, as a lot of people may know who've come into the truth, you have a lot of questions, right? I had so many questions um, about Easter and different things that I was learning at the time, like the books that were taken out of the Bible, like, the pseudepigrapha, the Apocrypha, the book of Yasher, the book of Enoch. All of these books are a part of one huge story. And I just found out while I was studying and growing with, Source, that a lot of things were not being told to me were being truth or filled with truth, but filled of evil and filled with wickedness. So, as you guys know, who may, you guys may be attending church or have attended church in the past, that Easter, or AKA Ishtar, is an event and a holiday, which is a pagan holiday, built around Babylonian, fallen angel worship. It's highly occultic, very pagan in nature. It's definitely an abomination to Source of Power. And these are pagan days that we, as celestial energy beings who are walking with the truth of the Source of Power, have no business partaking in, no business being surrounded by, and no business in doing anything that has anything to do with that holiday. So, as I was in church, I just was like, so you mean to tell me that all of this stuff is related, like Jesus and, the Easter egg and the hunt and all of this stuff? It just started to get really, really confusing, y'all, to me. So I started to study and research about, Easter, about, Christmas, Halloween. All of these days are pagan days that they all get together and do these worshiping rituals. And in scripture, throughout the entire, you know, Bible, the word, it says that we are to stay away from such things because they are great sins, great abominations that are connected to them. And so while the world today, around the world, celebrate Ishtar, aka Easter, which is, one of the most prominent ancient Mesopotamian goddesses of sexual love, fertility. Hence, you have the egg, because the egg represents fertility, and warfare. Often known as the Queen of Heaven. Throughout Scripture, the Queen of Heaven is mentioned, but this is what Easter is about. It's about celebrating fallen angels, fallen, spiritual beings, to extract your life force from yourself to them. You know, all of these holidays and holy days are a lie, and they are great abominations before Source. So if you're claiming to love, Source or God or your higher power, and you believe in the word, you would have nothing to do with this holiday. you would have nothing to do with this pagan day because it's a symbol, you know, of witchcraft. Let's just call it what it is. It's witchcraft. And, Christianity in its essence is indeed a cult. Nowhere in scripture does it say that, Yehoshua or Jesus was, died and rose on Easter Day. It doesn't say anything like that, but yet you've got it affiliated with his resurrection and his death all around this Easter and Tammuz celebration. I'm going to get to that in a minute, where, they have these Catholic priests, the Vatican, the Catholic Church. I don't care what church you're a part of. If you're celebrating this, it leads back to the ancient worship of the Queen of Heaven. This is what this is about. And her primary symbol was an 8-pointed star representing the planet Venus. And Easter, in its essence, celebrates warfare. And if you guys have not been living under a rock, we are at war. And there's lots of sacrifices being made because these soldiers are being sent to Iran and being sent to these parts of the world where they are going to be killed. There's lots of killing, lots of bloodshed that is happening right now on the planet. Yet you seem to have the Catholic Church and all of these religions celebrating Easter, which celebrates this sacrifice of innocent people and people that are dying for stupid reasons. The very day of Easter celebrates destruction. Easter in its, crucial role is powering state conflict. This is what this power feeds off of, and then I want to get back to, this whole ritual of celebrating Easter. And it just began, as I began to learn so many different things, I just stepped back from it. I said, Source really clicked me in my spirit where it says, you don't do this. You're to learn and to teach other people what I'm teaching and revealing to you. So this is what I'm doing. I've been doing it for the past 15 years since I've been called out of the cult of Christianity and called out of the practices of, all of these holidays and holy days and pagan days and ritual days. Have nothing to do with them because they are not of source of power. And so, as you guys can remember, on quote unquote Good Friday, you would have people, crying and weeping over the death of Christ and all of this stuff. All of this goes back to the worship of Easter and, Tammuz, which is, another deity, another, God that they cried over and lamented over, because it believed that if you cried over Tammuz's death, that, it would return to life. This is how crazy this stuff is. And how similar is that from where individuals are crying on a Friday and, weeping and sobbing and lamenting, in scripture where they say this is an abomination. Source does not like this at all. We're to be giving our glory to source of power and into ourselves, not extracting from our power, and standing on truth and standing on the word. And this is not what's being done because you've got people around the world, whether they know it knowingly or ignorantly, worshiping this cultic day. It's pagan, and, the ritual of, the weeping and crying, it says that it represented Tammuz's death, to believe it to be necessary for his return to life. We're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 8, verses 14 through 16. This is where this really gets real interesting, y'all, because this was one of the scriptures that was first brought to me about this whole lamenting thing, this whole thing. And so it says, verse 14, Then he brought me into the door of the gate of the Most High house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz. Then said he to me, have you seen this, O Son of Man? You shall see again yet greater abominations than these. And he brought me unto the inner court of the Most High's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Most High, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, and their backs toward the temple of the Most High, and their faces toward the east, and they were worshiping the sun toward the east. So there you have it. This is the same practice that they still do today from Easter weekend, good quote unquote Good Friday, leading up to Easter Day. You've got them, worshiping the sun as well, which is what they're doing right now. For the sun has risen. They're not talking about Christ. They're not talking about source of power, at all. They're talking about worshiping the sun, because you have all of these different Easter services, right? That are happening across the world. They have sunrise service. They got sunset service. They have all of these different services happening on this day because it's a ritual. It is a ritual what these people are doing in worshiping the sun and worshiping this cultic day. It has nothing to do with our brother Yehoshua coming with the Christ consciousness to set people free. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. And the truth of the matter is, y'all, they don't want people to understand that you are the gift. You have source within you. There's nowhere for you to look external but inside of you. They don't want you to go inside. They don't want you to connect your spark back to source at all. But it's time. It's time because, the truth is out, and the truth, is setting people free. This is what it is about. Not, worshiping on a day that was not decreed or, asked us to worship on or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that at all. But yet here you have people who are worshiping, they think that they're worshiping God or worshiping source of power on Easter, where that's far from the truth. It's far from the truth. And I just wanted to share this with people to let people know that some people may still do this out of ignorance, but, we can't use that as an excuse. We have to study to show ourselves approved. Period. So I was delivered from worshiping and being a part of the Easter holiday by being revealed the truth by the source of the universe. I was delivered because source let me know in his word that it was wrong. So I had to turn back from that. And that goes from all holidays. But I just wanted to share that, y'all. Let me know in the comments below if you've been delivered, if you're going through the whole separation thing, if you've got family that do, some family that don't. Let me know in the comments what you think. Peace, light, and love.